Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're exploring the real reason that Chelsea sold Kevin De Bruyne. On the 18th of January 2014, then Blues boss Jose Mourinho made a massive decision, one that would not only shape the future of the Premier League for the next 6 years, but tarnish his reputation as a manager and judge of talent. He decided to sell 22-year-old winger Kevin De Bruyne to Wolfsburg for £18 million. In this video, we'll dissect how Chelsea and their two-time Champions League winning manager came to the conclusion that they no longer needed the Belgian maestro, a player that has gone on to win 2 Premier League titles, orchestrate one of the best sides in English football history, and become one of the very best in the world. Welcome to Everything You Need to Know, the new series where we give you the story behind some of football's defining moments. Let's get into it. Kevin De Bruyne was born in the city of Ghent in Flanders, the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium, and to say he was a football obsessive from an early age would be an understatement. His grandfather instilled in him a passion for Liverpool, and when he wasn't fantasising about playing at Anfield in his room filled with Reds paraphernalia, he was outside in his garden, in an old Michael Owen top, working on his weaker foot. Fiercely competitive, stubborn and determined, while also being, in his own words, shy and introverted, De Bruyne has never been afraid to make difficult decisions. Age 14 and already attracting nationwide attention, he left his boyhood club Ghent to move to the other side of the country to join Genk, a club with a well-earned reputation as one of European football's best producers of talent, having developed the likes of Courtois and Didi and Koulibaly, amongst many others in recent years. De Bruyne admitted in the Players' Tribune that there was a challenging period of adaptation because he was the new kid from the other side of the country who spoke in a funny dialect. It was during this time he was handed a monumental blow when his foster parents refused to let him return after the summer break because they were struggling to get to know this shy, withdrawn boy. This led to the club believing he was a difficult character, a moniker that stuck with him throughout the early part of his career. Admittedly, De Bruyne has allowed his ultra-competitive nature to spill over on occasion. Never afraid to speak his mind, age 19, he publicly criticised his Genk teammates, saying, "I'm ashamed of them. I suggest those who don't have the desire to play just leave." Whilst at Wolfsburg, he was caught up in a media storm after telling a ball boy to give the ball back, you motherfucker. In October 2017, he once again made headlines after shouting at his captain David Silva during a Champions League game against Napoli. This was after the Spaniard tried to prevent the yellow-carded Belgian from interacting with the referee. But nothing could get in the way of his abundant talent. After shining for Genk's under-21s alongside Christian Benteke and scoring 4 goals in one half for the second team, he made his debut for the senior side aged just 17. 4 years later, in 10-11, De Bruyne contributed to 21 goals as the Smurfs lifted their first title in 9 years, prompting his former Genk manager Hein van Heesbroek to label him the next Cruyff. After being earmarked as Frank Lampard's long-term successor, the Belgian signed for Andre Villas-Boas's Chelsea for £7 million on deadline day in January 2012. And so began the most difficult period of his professional career. Having stayed at Genk for the remainder of the 11-12 season, and therefore missing the Blues' unlikely Champions League triumph under Roberto Di Matteo, De Bruyne was once again sent out on loan for the 12-13 campaign, this time to Werder Bremen. A versatile forward who could play on the wing or as a number 10, De Bruyne was scintillating in northwest Germany, with his 10 goals and 9 assists for a team that finished 14th, helping him to win the Young Player of the Year award. This prompted interest from a whole host of clubs, but at the forefront was Jurgen Klopp's Dortmund, who saw him as the perfect replacement for the outgoing Mario Götze. Klopp bombarded De Bruyne with texts and calls, but new Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho insisted he was going nowhere, saying, "You are staying, I want you to be part of this team." The mood was positive going into the 13-14 campaign. Chelsea had finished third the previous season before getting rid of the universally unpopular Rafa Benitez, reappointing club legend Jose Mourinho. But for De Bruyne, it was soon to turn into a nightmare. Despite Chelsea signing Willian, Schürrle and later Mo Salah in January for a combined £67 million, De Bruyne actually started 2 of the first 4 games of the season, grabbing an assist and playing, in his own words, not brilliant, but pretty good. But for the 4th game, a 1-0 loss away at Everton, De Bruyne was left on the bench without explanation, and chances from there were few and far between. For a player who had played at least 34 games in each of the previous 4 campaigns, this was an unfamiliar feeling. And his mood darkened after Mourinho publicly criticised his performance following a 2-0 League Cup win over Swindon Town, saying, "I didn't like the game he played against Swindon, and I didn't like the way he was training." The following month, De Bruyne was dropped from the squad for a Champions League clash against Steaua Bucharest, prompting rumours of a bust-up with the coach. But publicly at least, the Belgian was remaining tight-lipped, telling Sky Sports, Mourinho is the boss and he decides who plays. Before continuing, I've heard nothing as negative from him as what I've been reading in the media. Come November though, after just 158 minutes of League and Champions League action, and with a World Cup coming up the following year, De Bruyne pushed for the move. The following month, he met with his agent and Mourinho in the Portuguese's office. According to De Bruyne, he had some papers in front of him, and he said, 1 assist, 0 goals, 10 recoveries. It took me a while to understand what he was doing, then he started reading the stats of the other attacking forwards, Willian, Oscar, Mata, Schürrle, and it's like 5 goals, 10 assists, whatever. De Bruyne claims there was a long pause before he pointed out they'd played a lot more games than him, so it was an unfair comparison. Mourinho then said because Juan Mata, also out of favour, was set to leave the club in January, De Bruyne could be promoted from 6th to 5th choice. The Belgian was completely honest, saying, "I feel like the club doesn't really want me here, I just want to play football, I'd rather you sell me." Contrary to popular belief, there was no big bust-up. Jose claimed he wanted him to stay, but understood he needed to play football. On the 18th of January 2014, De Bruyne joined Wolfsburg for £18 million, and it was a deal which, according to the player, worked out well for both parties. Chelsea got more than double the price they paid for me, and I got a much better situation at Wolfsburg. It didn't take long for De Bruyne to show Chelsea the folly of their ways. His 30 goal contributions, including a league record 21 assists, earned him Bundesliga Player of the Year award in 14-15. And then a club record £55 million move to Manchester City. At the time, it was the second most expensive fee in British football history behind Angel Di Maria, and the move was met with scepticism by ill-informed members of the British media. But they, like Chelsea, have been left with egg on their face, with De Bruyne providing 61 league assists since 15-16, 9 more than the next best Christian Eriksen. The central cog of Pep's all-conquering Manchester City side, who've won 7 of the last 8 domestic trophies, De Bruyne and another Mourinho reject Mo Salah, representing the Belgians' once beloved Reds, are now arguably the division's standout players. Chelsea's decision back in January 2014 to sell De Bruyne, now one of the most complete and tactically versatile players in the world, is beginning to look like one of the worst footballing decisions of the last decade. So guys, that was everything you need to know on De Bruyne's exit from Chelsea, but who should we do next? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.